The first thing I noticed when they brought me before the throne was the silence. Not the kind of silence that comes from respect or ceremony, but the kind that waits for something to break. I was that something. 2 guards with skin like burnished steel held my arms tight as they dragged me across the obsidian floor of the Heir palace. The alien queen sat high above on her throne of living crystal, surrounded by her court, warriors, nobles, and scientists of her species, all of whom regarded me like a stray animal that had wandered into a temple. Her name was Queen Sothra, Empress of the Heir Dominion, ruler of 12 systems, conqueror of 3 wars. And to her people, humanity was a forgotten footnote in their history books. The humans had lost. Badly. After our colonies were scattered and our fleets destroyed, the survivors like me were shipped off to serve as utility species. I was a mechanic, good with machines, better with keeping my head down. But that day, my name, Elias Grant, was summoned to the Queen's court. No explanation. No reason. Just an order. I tried not to look her in the eyes when they forced me to my knees. "Human," she said, her voice a low hum that made the air vibrate. "You worked on the engines of the Spear of Dawn, did you not?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, Your Majesty." Her gaze sharpened. "And you repaired the human reactor that nearly destroyed one of my warships during capture?" "Yes, Your Majesty." She tilted her head slightly, studying me. The room felt smaller. "You understand energy systems, life systems." I hesitated. "I guess I do." She leaned forward. "Tell me then, human, why do your kind persist when the galaxy has no need of you?" That question wasn't for an answer. It was a statement of disdain. A blade wrapped in silk. I didn't respond. I just bowed lower. But then she rose, graceful, tall, every movement echoing power and precision. The court fell to silence as she descended the stairs toward me. Her voice softened. "You are weak, fragile, short-lived. Yet, she stopped inches from me. You refuse to die." Her eyes, silver like molten metal, met mine. Interesting. Middle. For the next several weeks, I wasn't executed or discarded as I expected. Instead, I was assigned directly to the Royal Palace's engineering division. My job was to repair life support systems, atmospheric filters, and the complex bioreactors that powered their floating citadel. I barely slept. The Heir Palace was alive, literally. The walls pulsed faintly with bioorganic light, and the machines responded to neural commands. It was like living inside a creature that never stopped breathing. The other engineers avoided me. They didn't speak my language, and even when they could, they didn't see the point. To them, humans were relics, a once ambitious species, now scattered like dust. But the Queen, she watched me. Every few days, she would appear in the engineering bay, alone, unannounced. Sometimes she asked questions about my work. Other times, she just watched. Once, when I was replacing a neural conduit, she said, quietly, "You treat machines as though they feel pain." I looked up from the panel. Maybe they do. Her silver eyes flickered with something amusement? Curiosity? My kind built these systems to serve. They are extensions of us. Not alive. Not separate. I smiled faintly. Maybe that's the difference, Your Majesty. Humans build things to make up for what we can't do. Maybe that's why we treat them kindly.
She didn't respond.
But she stayed longer than usual that day. Weeks became months. Rumors began to spread among the palace staff. The Queen had started spending more time in the human engineers' wing. She dined less with her nobles. She requested translated reports of human literature, Shakespeare, Bradbury, ancient Earth history. And one evening, when I was summoned to her private chamber, I finally understood why. The room was dim, lit by a pale blue biolight that cast her in soft luminescence. She wasn't wearing her usual armor, but a silken robe that shimmered like starlight. "Elias," she said, using my name for the first time. "You know the Karine lineage is dying?" I froze. No, I didn't. Our kind is ruled for millennia, but we have reached genetic stagnation. No offspring in 50 generations have survived past adolescence. Our bloodline weakens with every birth. I said nothing. The air felt heavy. She stepped closer. "Your people were once considered primitive, but your genetic structure, it's unpredictable, adaptive. You evolved through chaos." Her gaze locked onto mine. "I need that chaos." I felt my stomach drop. "What are you saying?" Her voice lowered. "The court demands an heir. I have chosen my consort." I blinked. "You mean me?" "Yes." I laughed, nervously, stupidly. "I think there's been some kind of—" But she silenced me with a look. Not anger. Something deeper. "I have chosen," she repeated, each word final as thunder. The next weeks were a blur of politics and disbelief. The Karine nobles rioted in whispers. A human consort? An experiment to preserve the throne? It was madness. But to her it was survival. Despite my shock, I couldn't deny the pull between us. She wasn't just regal. She was curious, vulnerable in ways I hadn't imagined. When we spoke, she didn't sound like an empress. She sounded like someone trying to understand why I was kind to her when everyone else bowed in fear. Once, while tending to her armor after a ceremony, I brushed her hand accidentally. She froze, then whispered, almost to herself, "You touch me as though I'm breakable." I met her eyes. "Maybe that's because everyone else forgets you're alive." She said nothing, but her fingers lingered against mine a heartbeat longer than necessary. When the news finally went public, the galaxy trembled. The Queen of Karine has chosen a human as her mate. Some called it blasphemy. Others called it hope. The ceremony was quiet, almost secret. She wore no crown that day, only a band of silver light across her brow. When she took my hand before the court, I felt the entire hall hold its breath. She turned to them and said, "Our future does not come from purity. It comes from persistence." The nobles knelt. Not willingly, but they did. And in that moment, for the first time in recorded history, a human stood beside a galactic ruler as her equal. Ending. Months passed. The queen's health began to fade as the hybrid gestation took its toll. Her physicians warned her to terminate the process. It was too risky. But she refused. "I will not abandon what we've begun," she said. I stayed by her side through every moment. The Karine royal healers didn't understand human medicine, so I did what I could, learned, adapted, improvised. One night, as she lay beneath the starlight filtering through her chamber dome, she reached for my hand. "Elias," she whispered, "do you believe your kind deserves a place among the stars?" I squeezed her fingers gently. "I think we have to earn it." She smiled faintly. "You already have." Her breath trembled. "Our child will not be Karine. Not human, but something new." Her voice broke. "Promise me you'll protect it." I nodded. "With everything I am." When the child was born, it glowed faintly in the dark, a shimmer of gold and blue light that pulsed with both her DNA and mine. The queen lived just long enough to hold the infant in her arms. "She breathes the air of both worlds," she whispered weakly. "Our legacy endures." Then, with a final exhale, the light in her eyes dimmed. The palace mourned in silence.